Hi, welcome to my YouTube video and where I talk about songwriting tips. And in this video I'm talking about the music portion of the song by Erasure, A Little Respect. Now, why I started to do these videos was because I like songwriting. I think it's a lot of fun, but like some of you might be like, I don't even know where to get started. And I separated out the lyrics, so go back and watch the video about the lyrics. I'm going to put a link in the description for you for the lyrics. But one thing that I found is that someone had told me, well, to get started, just go and analyze some songs. Take the songs and analyze them. But he didn't really tell me what to do, so I went back and I was like, well, here's the chord progression. He's like, okay, that's good. It's nice to understand chord progression, especially when you're first starting out. If you don't understand chord progression, it's nice. But I decided that instead what I was going to do was go back and pick out little parts of the songs that I thought were really interesting that I then could incorporate into my own songwriting. Now, we're not talking about taking the song and creating the song over again. I'm talking about taking little bits of the song and figuring out if I need something to spice up the song that I'm writing on, or sometimes I'll even take the song and say, how can I recreate this particular pattern in a way that fits more of my own style? And then that's what we're going to do. So here is A Little Respect by Erasure. I'm just going to play a little part of it off like this, typically. And then it goes on to the chorus. I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you, I'll be forever blue. That you give me no. Why you making me work so hard? That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling. Oh baby, please give a little respect to me. Alright, sorry, screwed up a few times. But anyways, so that's pretty much the gist of the song. And so when you're thinking about the analyzing songs, like I said, the chord progression doesn't really matter. Yeah, sort of. If you really like the song, but you don't want to copyright infringe on something. So what I found is if I pick certain parts of the song I really did like, I tend to add those in during parts of the songs where I'm writing and I'm like, it needs something. And that's really what we're talking about. Like, it needs something. So part of the things that I do, of course, is there's chords out there for you, and there's different versions of different chords, and I think I use guitar tabs, which is the easiest. And then if I can find the sheet music, I tend to find the sheet music because it gives me a little bit more information. But if you're not one to read sheet music, then finding sheet music really isn't going to be that important to you. So let's start with some of the parts of the song that I actually thought were pretty interesting. One I got from the actual sheet music. So in the beginning, it's a C, then a C sus4. C, C sus4. Now, the way that sounds, it's perfectly fine, which is... But in the sheet music, they actually started off as the inversion. And the inversion is you start with a chord, and then you use the same notes in the chord, you just move the hand up a little bit. So if it's a C, C, E, G, then they have the first inversion, E, G, C, and then the second inversion, which is G, C, E. So it actually starts off, and if I listen to it, I'm like, it actually does sound better. So this is, if I just play the C sus4, that's what the music sounds like. But if I do the inversion, so that's much better. That sounds, it's got a little bit of a different vibe to it. That bass of that, having the bass note as the G versus the C, just makes things a little bit different. So one tip is that if you're like, the chord sounds right, it's just something's a little bit off on the chord, maybe take the inversion of the chord instead. The other thing was the sussing. I like sussing, whether it's C sus2 or C sus4. And even if you do if you do the sussing kind of has like this church vibe to it. So this is the C sus4. So I tend to do like the sussing. So that's one thing that I picked from this song. The other thing that it's probably my favorite part of the song is to go from the 5 to the major 3. And that is very common. If you do know the chord progression, if you go from 5 to 3, and if you play it in the normal where 3 should be a minor, that would be an E minor. But it actually is an E major. And that's the whole part of Oh Baby Refrain. So I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh Baby Refrain. Now if I play it as the 3 minor, which is what if you do normal chord progression, oh baby refrain. Okay, so if you hit something, you're like, well, that's the way it should kind of go. I like those, but maybe flat or unflat, major, minor, the chord, and see if that makes a difference. So let's hear it again. I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh baby refrain from breaking my heart. So that's with the 3 minor. If you do the 3s as the minor, let's listen to it as a major. I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh baby refrain from breaking my heart. Something about it, like just that majoring of that chord is really interesting. That's a tip that I use quite a bit, is to minor, and it's typically the 3 for some odd reason. This the way that your ears hear it. 3, majoring the 3 is typically quite common. The other thing that's really interesting is that when they're doing the build up into the chorus, the don't you tell me no, why do you give me so that, don't you tell me no, don't you tell me no, don't you tell me no, don't you tell me no. If you listen to it, and a lot of times what's nice, if you listen to it, it's like, don't you tell me no, 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 so. This is also good for like ear training, because it helps you to pull out that melody and play that. And oftentimes what I do is I start off with some sort of melody and then figure out the chords to make it sound better. And what they do is really interesting, is they sus it, then the major, then they add the C/G chord, G, and then C. Okay, so let's do it. If I just do the chords, I mean, just play the music without the chords. So if I just do da 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 da, okay, but they do a. That's just really pretty. It just kind of flowers, or whatever you want to call it, kind of makes the chord a little bit pretty. Again, it's the da, da, da. So adding in chords on top of your little melody actually helps as well. Another thing that's interesting is that on the bridge they add in a 7, not a major 7, a 7, which is on the C they add in a B flat. So, and it goes da, 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 da. Alright, that's the way it sounds if I was just playing the notes, but they add in a B flat on that first bottom. Da, 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 da. You know, here's that, just that little bit of a clash. Versus. But then they don't do it the second time. And they don't do it the second time. So they only do it once. So sometimes it's just like add in a little bit of a clash one time. You have to do it over again. And that actually was pretty nice on that one as well. The last thing is that they have this little motif that goes on. And the motif changes. And this is where the sheet music fails me. Because on the beginning part it's... And it does that through the parts. Now, I actually forgot to talk about the parts. Well, let's talk about the parts really quick, right quick. And the parts of the song is, when I first was writing songs, it was, okay, this is the intro, this is the outro, this is the bridge, and this is the chorus. And the same person who was helping me out was like, you know what, forget that, write A, B, C, D. And I was like, what? So just write A, B, C, D. It's much easier to write because sometimes I'll make a change. I'm like, well, this is actually, I don't think this is the verse. Should be the chorus. And it's a little bit easier to sort of do. I don't know why, but it actually has A, B, C, D, E, F. It has 6 parts to it. It's got the A, B, which is the intro, and I guess we could call it the verse. There's a pre-chorus, a chorus, and then it repeats A, B, C, D. And then it has the bridge that, and then it repeats the pre-chorus, the chorus, pre-chorus, chorus, and then has an 8-bar outro, and then it fades out. Therefore, if you're thinking about, how do you set up a song, if you're just a little like, maybe you just do verse, chorus, maybe add in some pre-choruses, add in a bridge, add in some outro, some intro, and instrumental parts, whatever the case may be, just add in some little bit of things and use that to help you out. Now, back to the motif. Now, the beginning part is what people are familiar with. And it actually goes through section A and B. Then it cuts out. And then it turns into something else, which the sheet music doesn't tell me. So I'm using my ear and I'm like, what do I hear? Could be wrong, it could be right, I don't really know. Now the issue is that it's a little hard to hear because of the song is building up, and it's a great song. It does wonderful producing. It starts off, kind of soft, and then it builds up, and then the drums, and then the bass guitar, and other starts and other synths and stuff. So it drowns out a little bit, and so you have to kind of like listen to it over and over again, sometimes turn up really loud or listen to it in your earphones, and then hear what you hear and then try to play it. So sometimes, a lot of times, it's nice ear training to try to figure out, what is it that you like hear. But thinking about like changing the motif or the rhythms or something that you have in your song, changing halfway through the song, not even halfway through the song, after part A, B, we said there was like 8, 9 parts, and then changing the motif to something completely different, and we don't ever hear it again. It goes away. So that is how I analyze the songs and start thinking about stuff. And then what do? I remember certain things. So what are the takeaway points? First one is that if you land on a chord, you like the chord, maybe you just want it colored a little bit, try the inversion. That helps out. Sussing, it's a nice way of changing things a little bit slightly without having to do much to it. Going from the 5 to the major 3 is pretty, versus just the 3, the minor 3, which would be the one that's in the chord. Looking at how to take the notes that you have developed and then adding in the chords on top of those to make it even more prettier. So instead of just go into doing a flat or a flat or sharp, depending on whatever you're in, or natural if you're playing in some kind of chord, the 7, and that was and then changing up the motif a little bit and not having everything exactly the same. So hope you like this video. I love this song. Tell me if you like this song. What are some other things that you've observed about this song, or how do you approach songwriting? Be sure to watch the lyrics video if you're interested in the lyric stuff, and I would like it if you give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next song. If you got some suggestions about songs, I'd love to hear your suggestions. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.